Hello everybody, welcome back to the vlog. Today we're doing something a little bit different from what we've been doing, which is our no spend check-in. So this is our first time doing this. If you don't know, we're doing a no spend year this year at our house, which really just means we're under a really tight budget, and we're doing that with some specific goals in mind, mainly buying a house. All of that being said, I thought it'd be fun to do a little update, talk to you about how it's going, what we thought we would be doing, how it's working. If you haven't seen the no spend introduction video, that is on the feed where I talk through what a no spend year is for us, how we're approaching it, and all of those good things. But today we're just doing a little bit of a check-in. I'm gonna try and make it efficient. It's kind of a long outline, but at the same time, I think we can run through it pretty fast. This is gonna be an unedited video, so keep that in mind. I will try not to ramble, but I'm also going to just kind of put it up as it is and let it be a little bit more raw. So I think our first point of connection here, first thing to check in on, is the budget update. How did the budgeting go? So most things we were in budget or under budget, but there were a few areas in which we were over, and I'll talk through what that looked like. So for groceries, we set an ambitious number for $700 for a family of 3 for the month, and we were averaging around $1,200 a month, and this month we spent about $900. I really thought we were gonna make it, but toward the end of the month we just ran out of a bunch of stuff. Toilet paper, honey, olive oil, things that like cost a pretty penny, but we like to have around. And so, I mean, obviously toilet paper we like to have around, but you know, honey and things like that. So replenishing that kind of upped the ante. Also toward the end of the month I got sick, so I did grocery delivery, which was a higher bill. So those two things kind of impacted our grocery budget. The second thing is eating out. We went over by $6. We set a $100 budget for eating out, which we did not have a hard time not eating out this month, in my opinion. I feel like it was pretty an easy thing to do, but my birthday was this month, so we went out to dinner. After tip, it was like $106. We went over on our kiddo budget about $50 because we got their yearbook. We ordered their yearbook for the year, and that was just an unexpected expense. And then everything else, we were either on budget or below budget. Then for spend, things that we didn't budget for that we ended up spending money on from like our personal spend. So each of us got $50 and spend a month, but we used to get each of us $300 a month. And so I still had like a lot of money left over, not a lot, but like a decent amount left over from last year. And so for my birthday, I went into my spend for that. I took myself out on a little bit of a date. My husband got me presents, I think through his spend, and that's how we approached that. And other things that came up, hygiene products. I didn't think about that with our grocery budget. Those things are like pretty expensive, or you know what I mean? That stuff adds up. I didn't really think about how I would budget in. Like, I didn't want to get that out of our grocery bill, but I did. I ended up doing that with grocery money. Our kiddo just needed a new body wash, new hair wash, but also that's like a once every 6 months expense or something. It's not crazy, but it was unexpected. I should probably cut those out. I'm like clearing my throat. And then the yearbook was unexpected expense as well. Now, we did sinking funds. So we started sinking funds. This is our first time. If you're new to sinking funds, it's essentially where you put a little bit of money away all year long instead of having like one big expense. So, I mean, it's saving up, but it's just saving up strategically. So we started out the year with sinking funds for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Now, at the end of the month, we added in haircuts. I cut my own hair now. I've decided that's what I do now. So I cut my hair a couple weeks ago, but the kiddo and the husband both get haircuts pretty regularly, like once a quarter. So we wanted to budget for that. And then also like summer clothes for the kiddo. their 13th birthday is this year. We need to like do that. So I'm changing that up a little bit to where we're adding some more sinking funds just so that we can be budgeting for those things that we know are coming up. And so like all in all, we did really well. We didn't have a ton of like extra expenses. I feel like we didn't spend a ton. I think the one thing I've been tempted to purchase off of Amazon, I haven't purchased yet, is like fermentation weights because I want to make sauerkraut. But I'm making a batch of sauerkraut now without the fermentation weights, and I'm just kind of hopeful that that will work. I don't know how it will work or if it will go well, but if it does, then I won't make that expense. I won't like add that in. Okay, so things that worked during the no spend. What did I like? I really liked budgeting and tracking my expenses really closely. I used the app Copilot to do that, and then I used the information from Copilot to create my own Notion database. So I made my own Notion database, and then we put all of that information into there, and that's how we approached that. I also liked not buying everything that I wanted when I wanted it. That felt really good. That felt like a healthy level of self-restraint that I want to only grow. That feels like definitely a positive. I also spent a lot of time learning to cook from scratch or cooking most things from scratch. Almost every recipe that I looked at for a meal, I went through and it was like, okay, if this calls for barbecue sauce, can I make the barbecue sauce myself? And then I found a recipe that worked and I just went with that. So I really enjoyed that process. I think I actually enjoy cooking more because of that, and that felt really good. With that in mind, eating in has been really easy. It's not been like, I haven't really felt like I wanted to eat out a ton. I'll use my spend to kind of grab a lunch if I want to, or to grab a coffee. But otherwise, yeah, like it hasn't felt like a miss or a loss. What also went well is I've decided once a month to use some of our grocery budget to place a Sam's Club order through Instacart. So we don't have a Sam's Club membership. I don't necessarily need one or want one, but there are some things that are so much more affordable through Sam's Club, and especially things like instant yeast if we're like making all of our bread. Also like olive oil is way cheaper through Sam's Club, so little things like that. I am just placing an order once a month. We're keeping track of it just to see how long it lasts, if it ends up being worth it for us. As of right now, it does feel like the move, but yeah, we'll see how that plays out long term. The other thing is I found a grocery store in town that is so much cheaper. It's like a locally owned, family run grocery store, and it is almost always cheaper when it comes to produce. And so I've been going there, getting our produce, and then going to Ingles, which is the main grocery store here, and getting everything else. That has been really good. Sometimes though, I will say I don't feel up to going to both. Like if it's raining or I don't feel well, or it's just been a really hard day, or I worked really late. I don't want to go to two grocery stores, and so I'll just kind of end up going to the one. I also haven't been to Trader Joe's at all this year. So I kind of want to see what that will look like price-wise, because I do think it's cheaper. And there's some natural limitations that it puts on you that I think are potentially helpful. So we're going to play with that. One thing that has been going well as well is I've been making my grocery list in Instacart. And this has been really cool because almost everything's more expensive in the Instacart app. And so as long as my list in the cart for Instacart is less than what I have to spend, like the budget, then I know I won't be over budget. And this has been really nice because I don't want to carry a calculator around the grocery store trying to add up all of the cost of everything in real time. But I also want to be mindful of the cost. So that has worked really well for my brain, because then I can just go, okay, as long as it's cheaper than this, we're in the ballpark range of where I want to be. So that is what worked. Now here is what didn't work. The grocery budget. Running out of things by the end of the month, that made it really tricky for the family to eat, for us to feel like we weren't scraping the bottom of the barrel of things. Like, I've been trying not to go to the grocery store in the middle of the week, but sometimes you just like, you run out of all your fruit and you need some fruit, you know? So I'm just trying to figure out the kind of how to navigate that. And so that kind of didn't work well. We also had a 5-week month, which is just harder to budget on a 5-week month if you aren't getting bi-weekly paychecks, because we're both freelancers. So it's not like we're on a pay schedule. So that's a little tricky. And then one of the main adjustments we made with the no spend was like assigning certain bank accounts to certain tasks. So we opened an account with SoFi for our groceries, gas, going out to eat, spend, all of that kind of stuff, as well as a savings account with them for our sinking funds. So all of our sinking funds are bucketed there. We have an Ally bank account for all of our bills to just come out of, and then a savings account in Ally for general savings, like safety net stuff. And then we each have our own individual bank accounts. Mine is with Chime. I think Obi uses one bank, I think. So we each have our own personal account for that. That being said, transferring money between accounts takes time. And I didn't really think that through or factor that in. And I just got to figure that out. I think ideally we would like to be a month ahead of our expenses. And so having like a month ahead of our income in the correct places will make that time less meaningful. So I think that would be ultimately the goal, but we'll figure that out. It's just not quite calibrated yet, you know? So edits to make. I want to update the budget. I want to go through and just add those new sinking funds in. I want to raise the kiddo budget. We have it pretty slim, and I think I want to be able to do activities with them and not limit that. So, and they have an allowance, and then we go to Waffle House once a month, just the two of us. And so I want to keep that as well. So we're going to navigate that. We were going to cancel certain subscriptions that we're kind of not sure if we will. We've canceled a lot of them. Like the only streaming service we have is Netflix, but I think I'm pretty attached to keeping my Audible. Obi's pretty attached to keeping Spotify, and we both are pretty attached to keeping YouTube Premium. And so that's more than we budgeted for streaming services or subscriptions. We got to figure that out. I really want to get our little system down with the different bank accounts. I want to make that a priority. And then I want to try to make recipes in a week where I'm using overlapping ingredients. That's something I really want to work toward. I also want to work toward having just like meat in the freezer to build recipes around. So buying meat when it's on sale, building recipes around what we have, versus what I've been doing the opposite of that, picking a recipe, buying ingredients based off of that recipe. And I just think it's like slightly more expensive to do it that way. And we're really getting down to like a few dollars every trip to make it into the budget, you know? And finally, I want to try Trader Joe's more and just see how that does. $130 trip at our local grocery store is about a $60 to $70 trip at Trader Joe's for us normally. And that's a worthwhile savings. So I'm gonna give that a go. But that is our no spend update. All in all, it has not been very hard. I am sure it's going to get harder as time goes on, but as of right now, it doesn't feel very hard. I feel like it's just been really nice, honestly. It's giving me like a healthy restriction that's making me appreciate things more. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next vlog.